That 1 to 4 hour pretty much covered all my losses from last week. Hi guys, so today I'm going to cover with you guys two of the trade recaps that I've done. So basically yesterday I took a trade and today I didn't take a trade, but today there was a setup as well. So I'll go over that as well. It's pretty much the same exact thing. And then I'll go over a little bit about risk management and conviction and just only taking clean trades. Let's go on the daily first. So this is the yesterday's candle and this is today's candle. So from yesterday I went in having a bearish bias because we only just came off of that daily fair value gap right here. As you guys can see, we have this daily fair value gap. We tapped into it and went down. So I expect this to just continue downwards because, you know, we just came down. So the next draw on liquidity is pretty much like these lows after going from that fair value gap. And then basically going on the 4 hour, I was mainly more focused on here. So on the 4 hour as well, we tapped into that fair value gap and we went down. And then as you can see on the 4 hour, the chart was overall bearish, right, for yesterday. Obviously looking for sells, right? And then going into the 1 hour before London session, it was around that time. Since we have a bearish bias and we have this as my next draw on liquidity kind of, so I expect it to go down and take out this low. We have this 1 hour order block right here, so that's our higher time frame point of interest. If we go down to the 5 minute, we can see right here we got this Asian session high. We took our Asian session high, we started going down, we made a 5 minute fair value gap and entered somewhere around there. So I'm not gonna go over entry models this video because I've done that in past videos. This video I'm mainly just talking about what I need to see before I enter a trade, right? So one of the components was a draw on liquidity. So my main draw on liquidity was this Asian session low right here. So that's where I took profits. That's the first thing. So I need a high time frame POI that we get into. So it was bearish and we have this bearish POI right here. And then I need to draw on liquidity, so here that's the second thing. And the third thing that I need is just liquidity to be swept, and that is usually the Asian session highs. I usually want to see that being swept. So when I get these three and an entry model, so 4 things, pretty much I'll just enter for a trade. And there was a small SMT as well. Yeah, that's not like 100% crucial, but it's just extra influence. So I entered twice there with 2 different entry models. Today I didn't actually take that trade because we have this news. We have news during 4 a.m. New York time, which is during that London kill zone, so I didn't actually take that trade, but I did see it and just kind of like forward tested it, so I just left it there. Yesterday we went down. I had a trade down, but then afterwards in like New York session it ran all the way up because we had news. Today it started going down. This was that fair value gap, right? So we also have this order block right here, this daily order block. And then 4 hour as well, pretty much in that 4 hour order block as well, but I just refined it to 1 hour. So for today we were in daily order block plus 1 hour order block. That's already 2 higher time frame point of interest that we're in, like 2 higher time frame zones that we're in. And then we have that liquidity sweep right here, Asian session high swept, and then targeting Asian session lows. And then we have our draw on liquidity being the Asian session low. The start of that 1 hour fair value gap can also be a target. And if I pull up the Gann box as well, as you guys can see right here, we just hit the middle of that range. So what we were doing was just rebalancing to fair value gap, rebalancing to equilibrium after sweeping liquidity. So that's like the 4 things that I need to see: higher time frame, liquidity swept, draw on liquidity, and entry model. It's pretty much the exact same thing that happened twice, yesterday and today. Even though, you know, it might look a little bit different on the charts, but if you just understand like the order block, that flow, if you see on the daily, it was bearish today as well because of this daily order block. About understanding like market structure, yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about risk management. So basically every single time I take trades, I make sure that my risk is always pretty consistent. So I don't always risk exactly 1%. Like recently I've been risking 0.5 to 1%. So but I make sure that every single time I trade, it's like roughly the same amount of risk. So just with that trade yesterday, I made, because it was like a 1 to 6 trade and a 1 to 2 trade, right? So overall it was like a 1 to 4 if you average it out, because I had 2 entries. So half size, so it's like around 1 to 4. That 1 to 4 are pretty much covered all my losses from last week. You know, if I was to get scared after losing for so long and I just keep decreasing my size, then I would not have been able to cover all my losses with just 1 trade, just like that. And that 1 trade, I wasn't risking extra as well. I was just risking my normal amount. The reason why I was also able to do that was because I have conviction in my model. I don't doubt my model. But the reason why I've been losing for so long was not really because of my model, because I recognized it was because of my psychology. And I was just like, honestly, I was kind of really bad I had really bad psychology. I started taking trades when the model wasn't there. I started making up scenarios in my head, and there was just a lot of things going on. Understanding where you went wrong and journaling down where you went wrong. Sometimes it's just not your model's fault. Sometimes it's just your psychology, and you just need to work on that. On Tuesday, I didn't take a trade. On Monday, I think it was a break even, and it wasn't the model anyways. You just need to learn to only just take clean trades like these two. So I'll show you guys a few more examples as well. I posted it in my Discord, but I'll just go over with you guys. I also recommend that you guys just make like a Google Docs or like a Pages or something, and just like put your screenshots down, or even like Notion or whatever, and just write down your entire strategy so that you guys can be more clear on it. Because I have 4 steps, right? I need draw liquidity, high time frame, liquidity sweep, and high time frame, liquidity sweep, drawn liquidity, and entry models. I have all these things that I write here, but I won't go over that this video because it's kind of like not proper yet. But as you guys can see, I have all my trading plan is just on one page right here. That's my whole entire trading brain. I don't really need to think too much anymore, and this is how I build conviction, because I have on this page like a bunch of trades that are literally pretty much exactly the same for me, and it's just proof that the strategy works. We have like bearish structure. We have our draw on liquidity right here. This sell side liquidity just means Asian session low. This was my draw on liquidity because there was probably some higher time frame confluences as well, making that my draw on liquidity. And this is my H4 order block, so my 4-hour order block that I expect price to go back to there to like sort of like rebalance before going up, because overall it was probably an uptrend, but we are currently like inside a downtrend within this 1 hour. We went up into that 1 hour block. This was probably around 2, as you guys can see, 12. So this is the start of the day, probably like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We had that sweep of that Asian session high, so liquidity swept, entered into a higher time frame, and we have a draw on liquidity and probably some sort of entry model there as well. This was probably a New York session, so I won't go over that, but this model is just for London session, so that's one trade right there. Another trade right here, 30-minute order block right here, so higher time frame as well. And as you guys can see, this is obviously a smaller trade. Like this probably happened in the span of less than 1 hour, I would say. So if the 30-minute order block is the higher time frame that I'm looking at instead of like a 1 hour, then I'll place my trades accordingly, right? Like my take profits and stuff will obviously be like lower. So higher time frame, we have liquidity swept, we have draw on liquidity right here, and then we have entry model probably somewhere inside. Same thing here, 30-minute order block probably, and 1 hour fair value gap. We have this respecting this fair value gap as well. So overall bearish structure, swept of Asian session high, swept even more liquidity just to tap into that 30-minute order block. So after it tapped into that 30-minute order block, I started looking for sales. I remember this trade and then targeting Asian session lows for my draw on liquidity. Same thing here for 30 minutes. So this is 1 hour order block right here. SMT on a sort of like higher time frame-ish with GU. Asian session lows targeted. Oh, I think this was the one yesterday. So swept of liquidity and a 5-minute fair value gap for entry. So 1 hour order block right here. Inside that 1 hour order block, swept that liquidity. Asian session high was probably around here, I would guess. So we went up and swept into this liquidity and also went into this fair value gap right here to spike into it more because we were already inside this range for a while. So sometimes you have to see like when that liquidity sweep is, but there was still a liquidity sweep, and this is Asian session lows right here that I targeted. Over here, 1 hour, we have this liquidity right here. We have fair value gap right here that we're in. I know I didn't mark this properly, but this was probably a daily fair value gap probably. Fine if it goes up because overall on the day, I expect it to go down, right? So overall it will probably close on the day, so it will still respect this daily fair value gap. I have a 1 hour fair value gap here. So we're in some sort of high time frame PDA right here. We swept Asian session high and we started going down, and I took a short here targeting Asian session low. So that's all. This is only like 8 trades from this year, I think. But this is not all the trades that I've taken this year. This is just some of the ones that I remember. Hopefully you guys still gain some sort of value out of this, and let me know if you guys want to know about my strategy. But you guys feel free to ask me questions about my strategy or anything in my Discord as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.